guys like funny stories?
I do like funny stories.
I've been known to tell the occasional funny story.
Yeah.
So this was the thing my brother did like 4 years. This was maybe early 2000s, mid 2000s, where there was an SNL skit that I had never seen, but he would quote it constantly.
Okay.
Like literally,
It sounds like every conversation I have with my girlfriend.
Which
where I just reference shit and she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
is it the more cowbell one?
No, it's a really obscure one. And the plot of the episode is that this couple goes to an Italian restaurant and a guy orders pasta. And while he's eating it, the waiter, the gabagool, the waiter comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, so how are you doing with your pasta?" And he's like, "Oh, it's really, really good." And the waiter leans over, "You like the sauce, huh?" And
I do know this skit.
And he's like, "Yeah, that's good." He goes, "You like the sauce, huh? You want more sauce? You like the sauce, huh?" For years, my brother, no context, would be like, "You like the sauce, huh?" Didn't matter what you're talking about. Like, you would be getting pizza and be like, "You like the sauce, huh?" And like,
sounds like a very your brother thing to do.
Literally, like 6 months ago, I am like, "Tristan, what the fuck is that from?" And he's like, "It's an SNL bit." And I'm like, "I've never seen it." He's like, pull it up for you. And he pulls up the bit, and he is like, while we were watching it, he turns to me and he goes, "Jeremy, I've never been more embarrassed in my life." Because the only skit we could find that was even remotely similar was they are in a gyro, and they're obviously eating gyros. And the line is, "You like it a juice." Because he's like, "Oh man, this sandwich is great." And then he's like, "I want to get some more juice for this." And the cashier is like, "You like it a juice, huh?" And she's like, no. He says, "You like it a sauce," because they're at an Italian restaurant. And I'm like, "Buddy, like they clearly are not in this image." And he's like, "No, they are. They are literally, like, I remember the skit." I'm like, "Did you you see?" He's like, "Yeah, I've seen it. Of course I've seen this skit." And he goes looking for it, and he just cannot find it. And he's like, maybe they used to make other skits, and maybe they just transplanted like the joke.
Well, maybe
into
it's like the Spanish Inquisition,
mm-hmm.
where it's like the same joke but like different.
Yeah. So he's looking through that, and the first thing he stumbles
or like
upon,
the Monty Python, like the like how to end when they don't know how to end a bit, they bring in the police.
Yeah.
Right. Well, but by the time he gets to a Reddit page and he's reading about it, and some person's just like, "Does anyone else remember the 'You like the sauce' bit from SNL?" And everyone in the comments like, "I think I've heard that." And I'm just sitting there like, I'm at this point like 10 feet away, not even looking at what he's doing. I'm like, "Dude, you're getting Mandela effect, and it's so clear that you don't know what's happening." And he turns to me like with shock, and he goes, "How do you know that word?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like,
It's like his sleeper cell agent word.
He's like,
"Pasta, juice, sauce, Mandela effect." He says, "Yes, comrade."
Well, he turns to me and goes, "I'm on this subreddit that's called r/the Mandela effect.
Oh, shit,
what is
that's
that?"
funny.
And I actually hadn't heard of that before. And I pick it up, and I'm immediately like, well, "This is some fucking horseshit, isn't it?" And so that's the episode we're talking about today.
I'm so glad you finally did it.
We're talking about Mandela effect, and we're talking about how absolute horseshit of an idea it is. That literally people who believe in the Mandela effect get fucked. Like, I don't understand.
Rude.
It is such a thing. Every time someone's like, "Oh, I fucking tell you what, boy." Every time I look at this, they're like, "Oh my God, did you know that like this really obscure thing that I never gave a shit about was like something else?" It's like, dude, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
I love that we are now 4.5 minutes in, and Jeremy has already gone off the rails.
Well, okay.
Just so upset.
I would like to point out that I'm extremely happy that I was told we were going into the first Jeremy-led episode, and not only
Lindsey's here, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I'm still back, still here.
We still have a live studio audience.
That not only is Jeremy already calling something bullshit 4 minutes into his own episode, but I like every time I listen to any of the podcast episodes and I hear him go, "Let me tell you something." That this is just like the epitome of a Jeremy episode.
Well, I wanted him to do this episode so bad because there's only one thing I wanted to see in life more than anything else, and it was to watch Jeremy rile himself up into a frenzy.
It's his own critic, his own skeptic.
By the way, welcome back to another episode of
Oh yeah.
Crack Open a Cryptid. I'm Tyler Shyfoy.
I'm Lindsey Andrews.
That was a good one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was
that was
awesome.
a better
Amazing
one.
Castro, yeah. Thank you.
And I'm Jeremy Savage Tate.
I was really
talking
hoping to be like, and I'm pissed off.
and I'm mad. Okay, so here's the thing. This is an idea that every time it gets brought up in any conversation, I'm like, I don't know how to say this, but I respect you less as a person.
Well, I was actually wondering because you said you like it as us, and in my brain I was like, I'm pretty sure I've heard that. I wonder if in my brain I've just heard you or Tristan say that.
You may have literally heard me say that right now, and have just been
I've
like,
just been like, yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
that must
sounds
be,
like an SNL
that's
bit.
like you weren't going into that being like, well, Jeremy's gonna tell a fake story. Like, you know, you're
Yeah.
gonna assume that it's correct. But okay, let's talk about some really baseline things. First of all, and I know that this might come off very very frustrating to some, who is Nelson Mandela? Like, that is a question that we need to ask ourselves,
Wow.
because
No,
some people
people do
clearly
not
do
know
not
who
know.
And that
Nelson
makes me
Mandela
so
is.
mad.
I know.
I mean, I feel like it's
It-
basic knowledge.
you would think, right?
Yeah.
It should
They've
be.
probably heard the name, but they probably don't know who the fuck he is.
I mean, sure.
To be completely honest, I was not very.
I mean, they
like, I
made a
didn't-
whole movie starring Morgan Freeman.
Meg, do you know who Nelson Mandela is? See, there's one. We got one.
Wow.
Well, it's also okay. So, all right, Nelson Mandela was a activist that fought against the apartheid in South Africa. A big point of his life is that he got sent to prison for basically conspiracy to overthrow the state. And while he was in prison for like 27 years, the protests started to get like a lot more violent, and the South African government kept coming to him being like, yo, we will let you out of prison right now if you like calm them the fuck down. And every time he was like, get fucked.
Which, by the way, fucking sick move, dude.
Yeah.
By the way, I imagine a lot of people who are listening had the exact same thing. Basically, 3 sentences into you telling who Nelson Mandela was, Meg was back there and she mouthed like, I know who this is.
Yeah.
It's funny how you know who it is. You just don't know who it is. You know?
Well, it's because like we may very frustratingly kind of gloss over like a big part of the South African history, but I think that honestly is relatively the point of this argument of we don't live in South Africa, and it's not hugely important or applicable to us in another country. In the same way, there are probably things in America that South Africans just don't give a shit about. So the thing is that that Nelson Mandela eventually in 1990 was released out of prison.
In 1990. I didn't know the year.
He went to prison in 62 and he came out in 90.
Jesus.
He, for the next couple years, basically was like, hey, apartheid's still around, we need to get rid of it. And he basically negotiated it down. And I actually was reading about how a lot of people on both sides did not like him because he basically was willing to negotiate down apartheid. So the people that were his supporters were like, oh, fuck that. Like, we don't want to negotiate with the people that we're actively fighting against. And also the people who were kind of pro-apartheid were like, fuck that. We don't want to get rid of apartheid.
I don't know why, but it really makes me think of the Marvel What If thing, where if T'Challa becomes Star-Lord, Thanos is never the Mad Titan because T'Challa just has a better argument.
Yeah. I mean, it really is one of those
And
things
Thanos is like, I guess I don't have to kill half the population of the universe. Good shit, man.
it is very bold to enter a conversation where you're like, hey, what if, you know how you have all the power and I have less of the power? What if we didn't? We didn't do it that way. What if we made it more equal? And the person with all the power is like, huh.
I'm listening.
Interesting.
What a concept.
That does sound fun. But the point is that by 1994, he was the first black head of state in South Africa for I think like 150 years or something like that.
Jeez.
Not to undermine your story, but in 1994, I'm the only one in this room that was actually alive.
That is true, and you probably remember this.
I was born in 94.
Oh, you were born in 94.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a liar.
What were you, 4?
92.
No, she's not 4 years old.
I was
Look
2
at her.
years old.
Ah,
Yeah.
so you remember this vividly.
Yes. Just like the
You were
back of my
basically
head.
there.
I know.
If you look in the pictures of the background
You
of
can
Nelson
see
Mandela,
a
you can be
little
like,
toddler
look at that.
Lindsey.
There's a lesbian back there.
Just a little toddler Lindsey in all of her
in
plaid
like a
flannel.
little plaid. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And so that is obviously a very brief history. I get it. It's not very long. And for the moment, that is probably what the average person in America will probably know about.
That's about as much as I
Yeah.
know.
Didn't he die recently?
He died in 2013, I believe.
So yeah,
Okay.
fairly recent.
Fairly recently.
But the point is that I think it was let's talk about this.
Because people thought he died in prison, I think, is the
Yeah.
crux of this.
So the person who coined this term is like a ghost hunter. Like it's literally someone who writes books about how to hunt ghosts.
Was it Ed and Lorraine Warren? Because I swear to God.
It was not. It was this
Oh.
woman named Fiona Broom, who, by the way, is so like irrelevant that I could not find a Wikipedia page for her. Like
Damn.
I literally, you
Damn.
can find her Twitter, you can find the books that she's written, and I looked it up, and I literally could not find her Wikipedia page. And I was like typing in wiki, and it's like, yeah, we got a wiki data, and it was like Fiona Broom, and then it was like a copy and paste of her Twitter bio, and then it was her age, and I'm like, wow, okay.
I did not. Okay, so what'd you say to me? This podcast works great because you have someone who wants to believe.
Oh yeah, I want to believe. Adrian believes anything, and Jeremy wants to believe nothing.
And I'd like to point out that when it comes to like listening, I want to believe, but I'm probably more on Adrian's side in most situations. But the fact that you are starting this episode with it
No.
was written by a shitty ghost hunter.
Yeah.
I am so in Jeremy's camp
Yeah.
already.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, okay, so I just looked up one of the covers for her book on the Mandela
Mhm.
effect.
Please tell me it's like one of those really cheesy romance novels.
No, it's worse. So
Is it
like
pounded in the butt by my own butt?
so it's like someone who doesn't know how to use Photoshop. So to make the letters bigger, she didn't like shift and then drag. She just like
Oh,
dragged.
she didn't uniform scale?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's so bad.
Oh
So-
no.
It could use more like
Butt
flowing-
fucking in the butt.
butt
Yeah.
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
in the hut. God, I can't even
Oh,
say
wow.
it. I can't even, I don't even want to say it.
Butt fucking the hut? I mean, we've all seen Star Wars.
it
but
needs more
shit.
like long flowing Fabio haired men with their
Yeah.
shirts open
Oh, yeah.
and then
Mm.
like a generic blonde lady.
And then a floating copy of the book pounded
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
butt
yeah,
by
yeah,
my
yeah.
own butt. Yeah.
Well, so it's very funny because I'm looking at my notes, and it really shows how like little I cared to look at her, because it was like, who created it? Fiona Broom. Okay, next.
But nothing in your notes will ever come close to. And I wrote here, Satanic Panic at the Disco, and that's the entire joke. It did become a great episode title name, though.
But basically, she's at a conference. It's like 2007, and let me tell you this: I didn't give a shit to look up the exact date. It's around there, and it's a paranormal conference. She's talking to other paranormal people,
I can see why you didn't care.
and she's like, "Hey, isn't this weird? Because there's a news report about Nelson Mandela. I thought he had died in prison." And suddenly everyone else is like, "Huh, I also thought he had died in prison." And she goes, "Huh, you know what this means? We have somehow moved into a different reality."
Oh,
Like that is the
God.
first option
Oh
we get
my
to.
God.
Like there's all these things of it's like what could it possibly be? Could it be the fact that you just blatantly don't give a shit about South Africa and like the history of it isn't really relevant to you? Is it the fact that you're at a conference for other paranormal people and you're just looking for a reason to talk because realistically you don't have a job?
I just had a moment in my mind where I suddenly understand in full clarity why he's always saying, "Let me tell you something."
Wait, so do you not believe in parallel universes?
Here's the thing. It's not a concept of whether I believe in parallel
It's that
universes.
this
is not.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if parallel universes exist, because I've always known the Mandela effect as like sometime in like 2002 or something, our universe and another parallel universe basically merged. That was how I was always told how it worked. And
It's all like in 2002 something just
yeah, I think it was 2002. And so the universes merged and now people have different memories of things.
That might be like an interpretation of it, but I did not find anything that specific. The idea is it's effectively like, let's say someone did some time travel-y things and they altered the history, and you are just somehow left out of that rewrite. But you'll notice,
Like we are the split kind of thing.
yeah, like
I would believe that more than some lady sitting in a conference room being like, "Oh my God, we're in a different universe now,"
Really-
on the drop of a dime. Like,
because she writes this book.
It's just such a jump, man.
She writes the book, The Mandela Effect.
It's like being like, man, I thought you had to take a right here. Is there like another exit up ahead? And you go like, we see the answer is we're actually in a flying car. It's like, wait, what?
What am I supposed to do with this information? Is it a right or not? But the point that I like, okay, I will briefly talk about her because I came across a bunch of articles. Mandela Effect is huge. It is clearly the biggest thing she's ever done. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think she's making that much money off of it.
Well, what's funny is I like that when you described her Wikipedia page, it didn't even say the Mandela Effect on it.
The Mandela Effect doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page.
That's
Really?
actually very surprising to me.
The funniest thing about this is I am actually not in the minority being like, this is fucking stupid and bullshit, because most sources like, this is fucking stupid and bullshit. Like, it is actually hard to find a pro Mandela Effect situation unless you are the subreddit r/the Mandela Effect,
I was about to say,
which is full of so many things that it's like, buddy, clearly this minute detail from your childhood didn't change. You just don't remember it that way.
and then
I
it becomes
do
an echo
remember it
chamber.
correctly. They did bury Bikini Bottom before
Oh
moving
my fucking
it.
God, I'm so pissed off by this shit. Adrian is a fucking idiot.
What are
he
you
is such a
talking-
fucking moron.
Are we
I'm not
having an
really mad.
argument about the order in which SpongeBob episodes aired?
No, shut the fuck up, Lindsey.
Jesus.
So what happened was we were talking about the episode of SpongeBob with the Alaskan bullworm, which if you don't remember is big, pink, and hairy. And so there's this whole thing about the Alaskan bullworm where Sandy is going out to kick its ass because she's from Texas, and SpongeBob is going after her, trying to tell her not to because he's a quivering pussy. The rest of Bikini Bottom decides that
Patrick is like, why don't we pick up Bikini Bottom
and push it
over
somewhere
there?
else.
Can you stop with being like an A-grade fucking voice actor all of a sudden? Every fucking time. It's like we brought the actor in to do these lines.
Matt Mercer, watch out.
I have been telling Tyler all week that I think I'm slowly developing Matt Mercer's hair,
She is. It's actually wild. Her hair, it gets a little bit longer. It will be Matt Mercer's hair.
which is better than the other lesbian stereotype where I will look like Justin Bieber and I will not live
Which you
that
have.
again.
You did tell
I've
me
lived
you had
that
a
too
Bieber
many
phase.
times.
But yeah, so Patrick wants to push Bikini Bottom somewhere else. So what they do is they push it somewhere else and they push it underneath a cliff. And on the top of the cliff, Sandy is chasing the bullworm, which then falls off the cliff and lands on Bikini Bottom. But it's a zoomed out shot to show how enormous the cliff and the worm is. Adrian is certain that they did not push it underneath the cliff. They instead tried to bury the town, which doesn't make any sense because they were pushing it somewhere else.
They buried it and then pushed it. That's what it was.
But why
Whoa,
would they
whoa,
bury
whoa,
it?
whoa.
We
Adrian, you are so incorrect
No,
right now.
I'm
Thank
not.
you. We watched the episode and he says, look, see, it's buried. And me and Jeremy were like, in what context is that buried?
It's buried under the sand.
You know how they show the buildings with little squiggles in the sand
Yeah.
to show that they're sitting in sand? He has never once noticed that before and seems to assume that now that there's squiggles there, it means it's buried instead of them just zooming out. And
I'm right. Y'all are wrong.
We watched the episode.
No, we
Mr.
did.
Krabs' anchor is still at the correct position. You cannot say that
Jeremy and I literally looked at the episode and pointed out different landmarks of Bikini Bottom.
No.
Like,
We
it's
watched
exactly the same.
a quick clip of the episode.
Because that's how quick it is.
No. Watch the episode. Watch the actual
I
episode.
will watch
they bury
the
it.
whole episode.
Watch
right
the
here.
whole
right now.
episode.
We're going to stop the podcast and go watch
Yes.
SpongeBob and yell
We'll
at
be back
each
in
other.
15 minutes. You know, we'll do a live recording of it. We'll tell you when to start, and we'll be like, all right, here we go.
Then we'll go watch the Panty Raid episode for posterity
panty raid.
because they took that down.
Did they?
Did
really?
they?
They will not air that on Nickelodeon.
That's
I mean, I
bullshit.
totally see why, but
and they
like,
won't air it on like any official anything now because
art thou feeling it now,
this
Mr. Krabs?
episode has gotten quote unquote canceled like 20 years later because it's inappropriate.
That's
I
so
mean,
stupid.
it
They did
is.
the same thing with the Community D&D episode,
I was
which was
literally
it was
about-
my
Yeah, but
favorite
because,
episode
because he
too.
was in blackface. And
Well,
it's like, no, he's
quote
not.
unquote blackface. Yeah.
There's
so
a,
you can't Panty Raid with Mr. Krabs anymore.
oh yes, I can. I want to see the authorities
Tyler
try and
dressed up
stop
as
me.
Mr. Krabs does not count as you going panty
Hey,
raiding.
listen
with
here,
Mr.
motherfucker.
Krabs.
Also, in context of that episode, we'd be breaking into Tyler's mom's house. Tyler'd be like, "Why are we out of my childhood home?" And I'd be like, "Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?"
I'm just so mad though because every time I want to, I like the most quotable thing for me from SpongeBob is "Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?" or "Firmly grasp it."
Firmly grasp
now,
it
like,
in your hands.
A whole generation is not going to understand. Are you feeling it now,
Firmly
Mr. Krabs?
grasp it.
What the fuck is this? What? Literally, I have never seen someone develop a skill in so little time.
No, my Patrick has always been pretty good.
I'm going to derail us one more time before we get back to the subject, please.
You're not derailing us.
If
We are
you guys
continuing on the
ever
track.
listen, do you watch Twitch?
No, I
Okay, there's
I
a
enjoy it.
channel
I'm the
on
only one in
Twitch.
here
Like,
other
I
than you.
need you guys to at least watch clips of. There is a Twitch broadcaster named RP Mika, Mika.
Is she the one?
R.I.P. Mika. Sorry,
Okay, you just go in.
she does celebrity impressions, and I was
Mm-hmm.
watching her and a bunch of people play Prop Hunt a couple weeks ago. She does the most accurate. Like, I would have thought she was sitting next to me. Jennifer Coolidge impression I've ever fucking heard, and she was doing the quotes from
American Pie.
Legally Blonde.
Legally Blonde. It was perfection. I was dying. So when you want to go watch someone do good celebrity impressions, you need to go watch R.I.P. Mika and just like cry, because she was like, all of her friends were saying, say this, and she would do it as Jennifer Coolidge. I literally like had to go take a pee break because I was laughing so hard. I was just,
See, Jeremy
so
doesn't need to though, because he has the one and only Patrick Star sitting across from
It
him.
is true. You know, I loved you in your few cameos in How I Met Your Mother. You know, I was like, oh, glad he's getting live action.
Cried like a baby when he died.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Patrick Star is dead?
No.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
I never watched How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, my bad.
It's fun.
I mean, it's
I don't
it's over.
think like 20 years later it's like a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler.
Like, also, by the time you start watching it, you're gonna forget whatever we just said.
Yeah, in the context of what we're
He was
talking about.
Marshall's dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also
See, I don't
not
even know who
something that is
Marshall is.
built up to it. It's something
Well,
that just happens, and you're like,
And I think that's actually kind of a brilliant part of it, because it's like, yeah, that it just fucking happens.
yeah.
But I do stand by that episode is super fucking interesting because of the countdown.
The
Yeah.
numbers in the background. Yeah.
Basically, the episode starts, and I forget what it is, but there's something with the number 100 on it. So after you see something with 99, 98,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it counts down until you get to you're about to do number 1, but instead of like getting the payoff, Marshall's wife comes out of a cab and says like, "Marshall, your dad is dead,"
Dude,
and it's
that's
like,
fucked up.
what the fuck? It just hits you
It's-
right at the end. It's
also
strong.
Allison Hannigan's delivery of that line
Oh
is
my God.
really hard to
Yes.
hear. Like the just the quivering over like trying to get it out while
yeah.
Go watch
brings
How
a
I Met Your
tear
Mother.
to my eye.
Yeah.
We've already no, you've already
Well, watch
wrangled
Community
me
and-
into
Yeah, you have to
watching
watch. You have to watch the
I-
first 3
he
seasons of
will
Community.
only watch
then
Arcane
he'll watch Arcane.
if I
Okay.
watch the first 3 seasons of Community.
All right. Name another show, and then I'll watch that if you watch How I Met Your Mother.
I think also How Much Your Mother is a show that aged poorly so quickly.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Like it is.
Barney is a rapist.
Yeah, Barney is really rapey.
And it's hilarious
Mhm.
because Neil Patrick Harris is legendarily gay.
Well, yeah.
And like probably a wholesome person.
He seems like
yeah.
a cool dude.
Yeah.
No, it's very weird. There are a lot of there's one joke in particular when I was watching that show that I was like, wow, that literally ruined this entire show. And it's the one where he accidentally he makes a reference to that he sold a woman into slavery
Yep.
into the to like the Saudis, and I'm just like, yeah, not,
Wait, that seriously happened?
no,
on
that
the
is
show? What the
literally a
fuck?
line.
Because
The-
that was
the
a joke that
show,
wasn't
yeah.
shitty back then.
It was
Yeah.
like back in 2005.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
like, yeah.
yeah. He's like I can't believe I don't recognize this girl I've slept with.
Mhm.
I'm fairly certain I sold a girl once. I don't know what happened. She just never
that's
saw her
fucked.
again. And I left in a car. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, it was funny because I was telling Meg about this, but when I started watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for the first time, it's really funny how they go from dropping the R word every other sentence to not saying it at all, because it lasted long enough for that to not be an okay word.
But anyways, the thing that I wanted to bring up, I need to now catch my where I was. Oh, let me guess. Oh, that's right. Who created it? Fiona Broom. That's my full note. But no, I'm looking her up, and I'm literally at a point where I'm like, okay, who the fuck are you? Because like this is, as I said, probably one of the few things that like has really made her famous to a point where it is basically like
It's synonymous.
what people like talk about. Like she gets interviewed a lot, and I ran into one interview where she got given the title of self-proclaimed psychic and paranormal investigator.
Yes, they're
And I'm
all
like-
called that.
And I'm like, look, I know what this means because you can't just say, oh, they are a psychic, but it implies that this magazine has interviewed regular psychics before, and it's like, oh no, they're 100% psychic.
Well, it's like every
This
time
one-
you look at Lorraine Warren, she's a self-proclaimed demonologist.
Yeah. Well, it's because she didn't go to like,
Yeah. To
demonology.
DIT.
Yeah. Demonology.
Yeah, the Demon Institute of Technology.
But I'm looking her up, and at one point I run into this issue that literally floored me for the longest time, and I was like, I don't know if I can write this because it's a problem that I can't solve, and she's a member of Mensa, and that gave her a lot of like credibility of like, oh, hold on.
What is Mensa?
Mensa is basically like an opt-in, like it's like an IQ test that if you pass within like the 97th percentile, you basically join I almost said gentleman's club, like a, you basically join a gentleman's club, strip
No,
club.
that's womansa.
What's,
No,
it's like a
still be
country
Mensa.
club.
Yeah, I got it.
Country club is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And
And
they're all psychics?
No, they're
No,
just,
they're just supposed to be smart people.
yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
literally it's full of just generally smart people. I'm sure Stephen Hawking was probably in it. Like it's a list of smart people, and if you ever watch Jeopardy, like that's often something they'll bring up. They'll be like, this guy is, he's in Mensa. And I look it up, I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing. When I was in high school, my IQ was 132. So,
Wow, fucking brag about it, Jesus.
and I'm like, I know for a fact
Mr.
that,
Moneybags over 100 over here.
I mean, to be fair, if you landed on 90, then you're good. Like, are you lower than that?
I have no idea what my IQ is.
But the problem is that when
What did you say yours was?
132.
Oh, mine's 133.
Oh,
so.
that's
There
that.
we go. I saw
That's
that.
bullshit.
I saw that coming.
I don't think so. I had to study for mine. But the thing is, IQ tests are also famously absolutely worthless.
Yes.
And the problem is that now there's an IQ test that people are taking, and they are joining a country club when they do really well in it. And I'm like, well, hold on, is this an absolutely worthless test? And I look it up. I'm like, I'll just join the thing real quick. It'll be fine.
You're just going to join Mensa?
I'll just join
You're
Mensa.
just going to join Mensa?
I was about
fucking
to
solved.
say, like, where's the test? Because I would love to join Mensa.
You can take a practice test for free, but the thing that I stumbled upon, and I was like, oh boy, this is a fucking great business model of, I think it was $10 per practice test and $100 per test. By all accounts, I think you can take it as many times as you want. So if you really want to shell out money, like you're like, I made 80%. I made 13%. I'm going to keep doing it until I do better. I took a few of the practice tests, and I will say I had not done anything similar to that in a while. And the ones that really fucking got me were word scrambles. And so after
Which
today,
is hilarious because that's what saved us in
Yeah.
the escape room today.
I
Because Lindsay,
am an aggressive
basically like
word
beautiful
player.
minded, this is collection of letters.
but they're like, it was like, okay, so it's weird that I can study for this by watching like Countdown on TV. And but
Real quick, how much did you say you saw the test costing? It was like something like $100.
yeah, about $100 a test.
Now, my girlfriend Meg is an athletic trainer certified in California. Meg, she's actually our live studio audience here. How much was your certification exam? $400.
Oh my God.
So I just want to throw that out. To be in one profession was $400, and Mensa's like 100.
How many times did you have to take it?
So you need to obviously pass it.
Yeah.
You can take it as many as I did 3 or 4 times. I passed on the first try.
Okay.
But if you fail it, you have to pay to take it again.
Right.
Which is another $400.
Fucking brag about it.
First of all, like it feels like they're lowballing. They could really.
they could probably crack
How
that
much
up.
did
a
it
bit.
cost to take like the SAT? They were about $100-something.
I don't know. I
The
forgot to
SA
take
do you
the
mean
SAT.
the ACTs? We took the SATs for nothing.
Really?
Yeah. State testing is free, at least in California, is it not in
I had to
in
pay
your backwater shit state.
Wow, that was aggressive.
Jesus, Tyler.
I
She's
could've
from Jersey,
swore-
Georgia, and Arkansas.
Okay, the Jersey side, sure.
Even I'll agree that Jersey is just New York's dumpster. Okay. I think I did. I ended up taking the ACT because I had to. Like, I couldn't handle the SATs.
That's so weird.
pacing.
It's exactly the opposite here. You pay to take the ACTs.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the SAT.
I
was
think
like
if
the
you're in
thing you
like a
took.
richer school, they just give it
Well,
to you.
when I was
but-
in Florida, not helping the case for states I've lived in that are trash.
Oh, right, in Florida.
I took the SAT. I couldn't handle the pacing because it's like 12 sections and they're like fucking rapid fire. And then I was like, I want to try taking the ACT because not only is it more paced evenly, but it has a science section, and I was good in science. You paid for that. I could also be mixing it up because I took the LSAT, which costs money.
What do you take the LSAT for?
Law school.
Oh, okay.
It's the law school entrance exam, basically.
Got it.
I just have a quick fun story about the SATs. First of all, what's the perfect score on the SAT?
It's changed. Their scaling has changed.
But what is it in like the last like 5-6 years? Does anybody remember?
I wanna
Wasn't 1200
I
like
wanna
when
say
we were in high school?
I thought it was 14.
1400.
I thought it was 14. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not get a perfect score. I want to put that out there. But I forget what I got. Let's just say it was like a 1380 because I did get really pretty fucking high on it. My girlfriend in high school, who only Jeremy here knew, she was very proud of her intelligence. And I remember we got our scores back and she was bragging to everyone that she got a 1360 and she's so smart. She did so well. And then she asked me, what did I get? And I opened it up and saw 1380. And I was like, 1340. I did not have the heart to be like,
Oh.
I'm technically speaking, I did better than you.
I would have told her.
Yeah, I would have told the truth.
Here's the thing. I should have told her because a few months later, she fucked my best friend.
Oof.
Yeah.
I had to grassy that shit.
That's rough, buddy. Yeah.
You know, I don't want to go from a light topic to a dark topic, but but the point is,
Here,
we're
I
looking.
can give you something lighter. Did you know that when we first invented nuclear power, we didn't know how to discard of nuclear waste? We still don't. But the idea the United States has was just throw it off the shore of Jersey.
Shit.
Wow, so it's
That
not
explains
it's
so
Is it
much.
actively radioactive?
That's correct.
Okay.
The sea is still, if you go to the Jersey shore,
What
With
did
a
I
Geiger
just say?
counter?
New
Pull out a
York's
Geiger
dumpster,
counter,
but
you can
apparently
still-
yeah,
it's
no,
a
I
dumpster.
thought it was just like a moniker or whatever. I didn't know that it was literal.
It's just Earth stuff.
Well, I told them earlier that when I would drive from like Monmouth County, New Jersey to my dad's house in Staten Island, like 20 minutes of the trek was through literally dumpsters. Like the mountains were dumpsters.
oh, good.
It smelled delicious.
Yeah, that's the word
Yeah,
you wanted to
That's
use
the
there?
word I'm going to use.
Okay. So now that we have the light topics of nuclear waste and dumpsters, go ahead and give us your dark topic.
Okay, so basically, I was like, let me take the LSAT, not the LSAT. Fuck me. Oh my God, we just
The Mensa.
yeah, the
Mensa
Mensa.
exam.
I went to go take it, and I was like, I'm not paying $100. So I went to go take the practice test because I was like, okay, let's see where I got like 20% on it, and I was like, ooh, this is not looking good for Jeremy because I'm about to be like, this dumb bitch, and then it's like has no intellectual superiority, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I do about this? And as I'm looking through, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a huge fucking scam because the price being so low, it clearly is aimed at people who want to have some kind of mental superiority and are willing to spend that money to get into it. Because I'm fairly certain you can take it as many times as you want. Because frankly, like, I don't see how they would know that you had been taking it multiple times before. Because like, frankly, just sign up with a new email if you really care that much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, this is a bit better. And also to point out for Mensa, they do a lot of like educational kind of like STEM programs, and they do like support schools, but it is basically through the money of idiots being like, no, I'm smart. And I was like, okay, I don't feel bad about this. And I'm looking into Fiona Broom, and she's like, you know what? I'm not only do I do Mandela effect books, but I do all these other books. Most of her books are like how to hunt ghosts. Like specifically, like
Here's the thing, lady. I can pay $20 to get Phasmophobia.
I was
now.
literally about to say that.
and
I played that game for about 2 hours, and I thought it was dog
When we
shit,
had
and I
the quote
returned
unquote special torches, which were just black lights, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
man, I'm looking for fingy prints here.
I gotta
Looking
say,
for a ghost.
every time they said special torches, I'm like, they're clearly mentioning black lights.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know, the production value got literally worse and worse
Well,
as we.
it's funny because they said special torches, and there are torches on sconces that are like lit up by gemstones.
That's
on
exactly
the wall.
where my mind
And so
went.
it's like,
yeah.
okay, so a special torch. But then they were like, yeah, there are torches on the wall. Those aren't special torches. Don't touch them. So like, okay, they're talking about flashlights. We find a flashlight, and we're like, all right, is the joke that like this is so advanced that it's a special
that's- yeah, that's
torch?
what I thought.
That
And-
was another thing of like, come on, there's clearly going to be some misunderstanding of how that is read.
And then later we find blacklight flashlights, and she had to literally come on the walkie-talkie and be like, yes, those are the special torches.
Which,
Because we kept
by
being
the
like,
way-
is this the special torch?
By the way, after we found those, that fireplace scared the shit.
It
out-
did.
The fireplace did like a kerchunk, like move out of the way. Every one of us jumped back, like, what the fuck just happened?
I was too far away. I was like, is something happening over there? Hold on, I'm pretending to do like a riddle or something.
I'm
down
a
here.
little surprised that I was the only one person, and it was me made a very inappropriate joke about what we're gonna find with the black lights.
Well, literally.
No, I made a
No.
joke about it.
Oh, I
too.
didn't hear you say it.
I think
That's
we
why
all
I
did
didn't
at
get
some
anywhere
point.
near those.
Yeah. At one point, I was like, so there's
I
like
shined
a
it
like
in Adrian's pants, and I was like, wow.
I wanted to be like, so there's like a gentleman's agreement not to shine that on anyone, right? But anyway, so we're talking about Fiona Broom, and basically, as I'm looking through, this word comes up in all of her books, and I'm not paying like the $4 it costs to buy one of her books. And it's the word paragenealogy, and
Yes.
I looked everywhere, and I'm like, not only does this word not exist, there's no reference to it. It's literally a word you made up, and it's inside of the one book that's referencing it. And I'm like, I'm not spending that $4. I was so close to making a Twitter account, be like, yo, Fiona, paragenealogy, what's that about? Am I doing this?
I have heard the term paragenealogy before. I believe it is referencing when paranormal or extraterrestrial activity happens to people of the same lineage. I've heard it a lot referenced in alien stuff, where there's the idea of alien abductions tend to happen to family members.
See, that makes sense. Like if I just come across that, I'd be like, oh, fair enough. I love this, you know? Okay, so I've briefly talked about who Nelson Mandela is. I talked about the fact that Fiona Broom was like, hey, I thought he died in prison, when he clearly didn't, because it also, if he died in prison, he wasn't the president of South Africa. There's a kind of an interesting story. We're going to read through a lot of... they're just Mandela effect examples, but there's one here that is probably the most filled out, and probably because you may not have heard of it. Okay, so in Italy, Bologna.
In Bologna, yeah.
Yeah. I when I first looked at that, the first thing I had to do was like, do I pronounce it like bologna? Is that how the Italians do it?
It's Balagna.
In 1980, there was a terrorist attack in one of the in basically their central rail station. It killed 85 people. It came from a briefcase bombing, and it also injured 200 people. And it was like a
Jeez.
really big deal. But the weird thing is that most people in the area distinctly remember this idea that when the bomb went off, it destroyed one of the clocks and stopped it from moving. And ever since then, it just has always read the time of when the bomb went off. And so these researchers actually went around and asked this and were like, hey, one, these people either worked at the station or were like alive long enough. And keep in mind, what date was this? I think this was in 2009. Yeah.
When they did the research.
When
on
they
it?
did the research. Okay. So it had been like 30 years. Yeah. They said, hey, that clock, what is it? What's the deal with it? And they were like, oh, well, when the bomb went off, it broke the clock, and it's never been repaired since. And like 92% of people were like, yeah, this clock has always been broken. And they were like, no. The clock has not been broken. That's not why it reads that. It was broken in the blast, but it was fixed. It just reads the normal time. But in 96, as a memorial, they basically turned the clock off and reset it to that time. But most people do not remember that literal 20-year period where people were like, oh, no, it has always read that. And people are like, we must have gone into another dimension. Like this is the only option we could have.
I can't be wrong. You must be crazy.
Yeah. And it's such a weird thing because it's very easy to explain. This actually is a very easy documented case to bring up of you don't give a shit about a clock. You're not looking at a clock and going, this clock is not clocking enough. Like this is a clock. If you are going to walk and see a clock that's doing what it is supposed to do, you're not going to be like, mental note. Let's make sure that that's going there. But if it's broken, you're going to be like, oh yeah, no, that's not what clocks do. Not clocking enough. So the fact that people had seen this clock not work was probably the first time they ever like registered like, oh yeah, it doesn't work. Even though they might have in the past used it to get around. But because of that 96 change, so many people, and mind you, like people that lived there, these aren't people that are like from the US or from Canada or South Africa, all these other places. They could not remember.
The 4 places of planet Earth. Italy, Canada, United States, South Africa. There's nothing else.
We call it the 4 corners.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it makes kind of a triangle shape, but
yeah, but I mean it's a rhombus. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Great looking rhombus at that.
It's a great looking rhombus.
And the more I read into this, like that was one where I was like, okay, well that's like a very clear example. But you go into the Mandela effect Reddit, and it's literally people like, oh my god, you would not believe what just happened to me, and then they will just spout the most worthless fucking bullshit. And I actually have
God, I wish you would just tell us how you really feel and didn't like keep your actual thoughts in your head all the time.
I can try that.
All right, yeah.
All right. I'm gonna quick fire some things that you might misremember, and I have them categorized as there's basically 4 categories. There's the how the fuck do you not know this category. There's the oh yeah,
for that one.
I guess that's kind of the case. Okay. There's the I don't remember that being the way it is. And the last one going, are you shitting me? That's not how it goes. Okay. Here, actually, you know what? Before we get there, do you guys remember a genie movie starring Sinbad that
I know this
is
one.
called Shazam?
This is one
That's the superhero movie.
You are correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've never known this Mandela effect. I know about it, but I never remembered a
I've heard this one
You're
all
a
the
90s
time.
kid. Do
I
you have
am.
any?
I don't really remember because I didn't watch a lot of those movies. To
Okay.
be honest.
This is an incredibly common Mandela
Yeah,
effect.
yeah, almost. It's weird how many people remember this movie because I legitimately don't. I remember one with Shaq.
Yes.
Called Kazam.
Yeah.
Like it is basically what happened was people said
Kazam I know about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
I don't
green,
really remember
green eggs and ham
any
it. I
Sinbad.
think that's a
Yeah,
wrap.
when I hear Sinbad, I think of the pirate movie.
Mhm.
Yes, because Sinbad is a pirate.
Yeah,
This is the second most known one.
isn't the other
that
one the
I know.
Berenstain Bears?
I wasn't gonna say, but yeah, the Berenstain Bears are the Berenstain Bears.
See, that one's like also a really fun one to go across because that might actually just be true.
Really?
There are actual people have actually found evidence where like no, here's a book I had when I was a kid and it does say Berenstain on it. And
Because
it's-
I remember Berenstain for sure.
yeah, but the thing is, you also might not have, like, realistically, you know the title of the book. You're not going to read it when you pick it up. Like, you don't need to reconfirm the fact that you're reading a Berenstain Bear book. So if you are told it's called the Berenstain Bear, okay,
That's what it's called.
yeah, that's what it's called. I'm not going to be like,
Well,
hold on,
couldn't
let me
something
check.
like that like originate from like accents too. Anyway,
Berenstain versus Berenstain. Honestly, here's a really fun example of basically 2 podcasts ago where I confused beignet with beignet.
Yeah.
Both of those words, if you say them fast enough, basically make the same sound.
Beignet.
Beignet.
Yeah.
So I honestly could have been going, and it was only the fact that when I pronounced it,
beignets left.
Yes, I do.
Huge. Continue.
it was only the fact that like when I at the time pronounced it was being like very like ostentatious with it, where I was like, do they have any beignets?
and we were both just like, what?
And I'm like,
We-
beignet.
And so I assume what he thought is like we weren't hearing him correctly, but we were just like, I don't know what that is. And he started to explain. I'm like, do you mean beignet? And immediately he's like, do I?
Yeah.
And we both had to Google. I had to play like beignet.
I honestly was expecting a situation where there was just another accepted thing that neither of us had heard the other, but no, I was just wrong.
Well, it's hilarious too. Is we went to the place that sells them, and on their menu it says beignet, which is the stupidest spelled word on planet Earth. But
Very
in
French.
parentheses, it has a pronunciation that is
isn't
beignet.
there like a G in that word?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
BEIG.
I mean, it's
I
French,
saw the
so.
sign. Yeah, no, I saw
Yeah.
the sign when we were there.
Yeah.
I saw the sign. I saw the sign. Continue.
Sorry, I was just waiting for YouTube to
I appreciate
auto ban our
We're-
video for
yeah.
borrowing.
We're gonna get DMCA.
that. Yeah, we're getting smooth and
instantly.
grooved.
But no, so you, talking about Shazam, the weirdest thing to me is just as a concept, I don't think it could physically be made. Shazam is actually a trademarked word and made up for the comic
Yes.
Shazam, the Captain Marvel character.
Mhm.
So for some, although like it is often used in as like generic
to
magic.
be clear, not Captain Marvel, the Marvel character, Captain Marvel, the DC character,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lindsay, are you familiar with the two Captain Marvels?
See, I'm only really more familiar with the Marvel universe in general and like Marvel comics, so I didn't know. And I haven't seen the Shazam movie, despite the fact that I do want to see it because I love Zachary Levi.
Yeah.
But
It looks
Good.
funny.
It's really good.
Well, in the Shazam movie, they do not call him Captain Marvel because
Mhm.
within recent years,
Mhm.
I think it was like 2015, they basically retired the name because
And they just call him Shazam now.
yeah,
Mhm.
which Shazam was just like the word he used to transform, but now
Shazam!
they're like, oh no, it cannot be Captain Marvel because that's so
it's
fucking
gonna get
confusing.
confusing. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
like even in the Marvel universe, they have like multiple
Yeah.
Captain Marvels as it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Well,
the,
one's Marvel.
yeah, the comics ran side by side,
Yeah.
and basically what had happened was the character of Captain Marvel, the DC version, was made by not DC. They
Mhm.
acquired it later, but they kind of retired the character, and then Marvel started making because they were like, well, hold on, our product is called Marvel. Like we might as well have a Marvel in there. They had a character named Marvel who went by Captain Marvel. But because the product was retired, they actually were able to steal the trademark. So no longer could they call their comic Captain Marvel, and they went to Shazam, but like internally in the comic, he was still referred to as Captain
Right.
Marvel.
Mhm.
But over the years, it was like, look, this is too much of an issue to explain to people. Just call him Shazam. It's fine. Nobody is going to bring it up. But the thing is, like, if there was a genie movie with Sinbad in the 90s called Shazam, like they would have to take that because that would be a trademark name. That's the name of the comic book.
Mhm.
And it's not like it's not like a real name that they are using. It is a made up name for DC. Like there is no way around that. So every time people bring that up, I'm like, but like this doesn't make sense. I'm like, no. I distinctly remember a genie movie that stars a black man. And it has a Kazam, and it sounds like Kazam. I'm like, is it the movie Kazam? Are you just racist, or are you like Shaq?
That one always does strike me as like, oh, you're just racist, is what happened.
It's like I saw a black guy once, and I'm fairly certain it was just another black guy.
So was Sinbad like in any movies?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Isn't
Not that I
he's
know
a
of.
comedian?
He's
Yeah.
a comedian.
Yeah.
Very adult comedian too.
I've
I-
never heard one of his sets.
I literally do not know who this person is. Like,
Well, have you watched the what's that talk show with that guy, the Let Me In guy?
Eric
Oh,
Andre.
Eric Andre.
Eric
yeah.
Andre.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the sidekick to Eric Andre on that show.
That's
Isn't
Sinbad?
that no?
That's it. Oh no. Hang
I'm
on.
like, yo, Sinbad
Hold
looking
on, let me
No,
please.
different.
Somebody's
Hang on.
going to racist jail.
No. I'm thinking of fucking. I can't remember the name. No, but he is a comic. I forgot. He's been in a couple of stuff. A couple of like. He's been
So
on some
can-
sitcoms
So
in the
when
early
Jeremy
2000s.
and I were both like, I don't know what he's been in, your response was, I don't know what he's been in either, but he has been.
He's been in a ton of sitcoms in the early 2000s.
And boy, has he! Like, he has been. But yeah, I just wanted to get that one out of the way because that one was like
Super famous one.
It's super famous and comes up and it's like it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
like this.
Jingle All the Way is what I was thinking of.
Oh my fucking god! Just shut the fuck up, Jeremy. Tell me more about
Okay.
the Mandela effect.
These are the ones that I honestly do not understand. Okay, actually, this is one that I can kind of guess. But there are some things here where I'm like, what is the issue here? Like, how did you not remember this? Okay, in Lord of the Rings,
Okay.
Gandalf is about to fall off. He gets pulled by the Balrog. He's holding onto the bridge, and he has a very famous line. What is that line?
I
You shall not
never
pass.
seen.
Okay, haven't seen. Wrong.
Yeah. Well, he no. I'm sorry. He doesn't say you shall not pass.
It's
He,
right
he
before
says,
he falls.
No,
Yeah,
it's right
Doesn't he
before
say
he falls.
fly, you fools?
He does say
Yes.
flight.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a lot of people, like, even as a kid, when I saw that, I always got really confused by the use of the word fly.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are under the impression he says "run, you fools," which is the exact same sentence, but it doesn't have a
Yeah.
weirdly placed a word that like you normally wouldn't recognize.
Real quick, because in my head, I'm trying, because I know he says fly you fools, but does he not say fly you fools and then turn to the Balrog, they leave, and he does the you shall not pass?
No.
He says "fly, you fools" right before he lets go of the bridge. So he is holding. He's like
Oh, so
dangling.
it's you
off.
shall not pass, he hangs, fly you fools, and then he falls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does say you shall not pass.
He does.
Yes.
That's not like bullshit?
Yeah, no, he does say
Okay.
"you shall not."
I was really scared
says
that you
it
were
like
going to say
3
he never
times.
says that. It's like the set phasers, the stun, or like it's elementary, my dear Watson. Those lines are never said.
It's funny that you just named 2 things that I don't have on here, but I'm really glad that you brought those up
Yeah.
because that is very common for people to be like, "Oh, I definitely remember this famous quote from a show,"
Mhm.
and that's like, but they never actually say that. That's
Yeah.
just something that.
They say it now, referencing the thing that never happened.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, because oftentimes those sentences are kind of said, but they're not the quote that you bring up.
Yeah, it's not set phasers to stun, it's turn your phasers to stun mode or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or he's like elementary anytime he does a
Yeah,
does
it's
like a solve.
elementary, but he doesn't say my dear Watson,
Yeah.
but he has referred to him as my dear Watson. So
Okay, some people were not under the impression that we have 50 states. I think those are
I'm
foreign
sorry.
people.
What?
Uh,
Oh, okay.
apparently 52 is a very common thought that there
Because
are.
they're assuming Alaska and Hawaii would be my guess.
That might,
Like we have 50 mainland,
and then there's
other
the
two.
last. That honestly,
Or
that was
potentially
kind,
they're adding Guam and Puerto Rico.
That's what
my
I would have thought.
my
They're
guess
counting
at the time.
territories.
My guess at the time was that
Which should
they
be states.
thought we always had
50
50, and then like
continental.
because Hawaii and Alaska were added very very recently. They were in like the 40s and 50s.
In the
but,
timeline of things, it's recent.
But yeah, and that's the thing where I'm like, yeah, okay, if you don't live here, that's fine. If you do live here, what have you been doing? Like I'm also not going to say look at the flag because I'm not going to ask you to count 50 stars.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Also, there were plenty of periods of time where the number of stars did not reflect the number of states.
Yeah.
Like the in-between periods.
Oh,
you
sure,
know?
yeah. I imagine that any of those in between periods where it's like I'm not going to go get a new flag immediately.
Yes. It was like when they had the 14th state, they're like, where are we going to put it? It's
We're in the
already a
center.
circle. Yeah, but then they did put it in the center and then like, what about 15? Where's 15 go?
I'm surprised they didn't just keep making the stars smaller, but adding like
Yeah.
a more like by the time we get to it, it's just like a thin, crisp circle.
From a distance, it just looks like a solid line.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, it's perfect. No confusion there. Okay, this one is another one that came off that I was like, what is the purpose of this? The Challenger explosion. People like take off a few years of when it happened, and it's like,
Oh,
why are you arguing with that?
was that like my best guess? 89?
The years that I have written were 84 and 85.
Okay.
I think it's 86.
I
I think
way closer than I expected to
Yeah.
be, by the way.
and well, for one, none of us were alive at the time that
Yeah.
Challenger went off. But also, imagine someone's like, no, it went off in 86, and you're like, no, it went off in 84. Who the fuck are you arguing with? Like,
Yeah.
like what? Like, I distinctly remember because we were having our 1984 party and we were watching the news at the time. It's like you're not gonna just remember.
George Orwell showed up.
Like it's a thing of
We had our
okay,
1984 party in the year 1972.
and I watched the Challenger explode. It's also so close. Like it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's something that it's like.
It's very much where it's like, this doesn't matter in any way.
Yeah. If you had said like, no, that happened in the 30s, I'd be like, I'm really concerned about why you think that. But they're like, oh, my best guess was this. Oh, actually, you're wrong. No. No.
I said 89 and you were like 86 and I didn't go like, what the fuck do you mean?
You didn't
3 years
say-
earlier?
Jesus Christ, I'm in another dimension.
I'll be like, next you're going to tell me that the zipper froze.
Because it cannot.
I distinctly remember putting that fruit roll up in my pocket.
I don't know why that feels like a grosser sentence than what even the euphemism represents. Which is just
Which is just
Instead of
basically
fruit
any
roll up
any
in
other
your
day
pocket,
thing.
are you just really happy to see me?
Oh no!
okay.
That zombie's got a boner.
I don't know. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the HBO show Sex and the City.
Not even.
Surprisingly
not even
very
slightly.
familiar.
You're very familiar?
Yeah.
You are the only one in this room.
Are you
Really?
familiar with the fact that the title of the show is actually Sex and the City?
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually knew that.
Wait, did people not think that's
they
what it
th-
was?
Sex
Well,
in the
there's a
City.
lot of people that think it's Sex in the City.
Yeah.
Oh, they're dumb.
Yeah.
The funny thing, I also thought that as well. And this is another example of like clearly some marketing did because they're are examples where people have written it as Sex in the City.
Well, I think it's because we tend to abbreviate the word "and" to "n,"
Yeah,
and so it's Sex in the City.
Yeah.
But it's Sex and the City.
yeah.
It does remind me that one a little bit of
Also, both of those work. Like I wouldn't read one and go, that doesn't make any sense. This,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
my Christian value show.
it's like the idea that Kubrick, when they released 2001: A Space Odyssey, he very specifically made the marketing say it's 2001: A Space Odyssey, to see if he could make people start saying 2001, 2002, 2003, and it worked. It might be the reverse of that, where people were already using and he said don't use. I forget exactly which direction it went.
2001.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was like it was something like before that they were saying like 1991 or
Yeah.
something like that, and you wanted to try to change that, and it fucking worked.
Interesting. It's funny because I think now that I'm coming back to it, people would say 2001, but I was not thrown off when he said 2001. Like
I forget which direction.
Yeah,
it goes,
I
but-
would. If you can look that up, that'd be.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
new
going
information.
to,
to me.
yeah, I
it's-
didn't know that either.
And I just want to come out and say I might have been lied to.
That's 100% the case. I once told a really interesting movie fact, like to all these people. Years later, realized that I had actually misread the movie fact, and the fact that I thought was like blew my mind. Like eventually, one person caught me on it. They're like, they couldn't have done that. Like that's physically impossible. And as soon as they like hit me with that, I was like, they're not wrong. Like I do see why maybe that is a bad idea.
There was a great post on r/shitty movie details where it's like lies,
Mm.
but it's the scene in the Avengers, where it spins around them,
Mhm.
and it was like there's an interesting scene in the Avengers 2012 where John Travolta is actually not present in the shot. That's because he wasn't in the movie.
That is an interesting detail. Okay, this one really threw me off because this is just something that people clearly like don't get the concept of the show. The Flintstones.
Mhm.
People think it's called the Flintstones.
Yeah, because we don't pronounce the T.
But it's one of those things where if I read that and I was like, oh, it's called the Flintstones, I wouldn't be like, there's a T? A T?
Yeah.
Are you sure we didn't just jump into another dimension?
Are you sure you got the right gummy vitamins?
This is Mom, I asked for the Flintstones vitamins. You got me the Flintstone
I
vitamins.
can't eat this dog shit.
Go back to the store.
Get your ass back into Costco, so help me God.
This one, in Forrest Gump, the classic line, life is like a box of chocolates, is once again made more relevant to person speaking it because the actual quote from the movie is life was like a box of chocolates.
Oh,
Because
I didn't realize that one.
The quote is, he's saying, my mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
That makes sense.
That being said, there is a scene later on where his mom does directly say it to him. She might actually say life is like a box, but he never directly says the
Interesting.
Let's see.
Can I say I've never actually seen Forrest Gump? too?
It's a really
Shame
good movie.
on you.
I literally don't watch things.
Lindsay, I'm a film major and I have not seen Forrest Gump.
Okay, I feel
Shame on
significantly less
you.
guilty.
I'm aware.
I think Forrest Gump is legitimately a movie that like did not have any negative aging to like the product that it was made, and I still think it's really good. Like,
Yeah.
It's also very approachable from basically anyone's perspective. It's just a fun movie to watch.
Mhm.
All right.
Still didn't deserve Best Picture,
What
but it was really good.
What should have beaten it?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
Can,
yeah.
can I tell you something? I've seen Pulp Fiction. I respect it as a film. It bores me to tears.
Go fuck
Wait, isn't
yourself,
that the
Tyler.
movie where John Travolta's got the gif of him doing the sideways?
Yeah,
one?
that's the
okay.
one.
That's
Yeah.
the only reason. That's the only thing. Oh, I know the scene with him and Samuel Jackson like
It is
beating
also
the
the
shit out
movie.
of someone too.
It's the movie that led to the only joke in Family Guy that ever made me laugh. Where it's the scene where they're talking in the diner, but every time it cuts back to her, her eyes are further apart.
Oh, the Uma Thurman.
yeah.
Uma Thurman. Yeah, no, okay, I know that too, but I've never seen it.
Okay.
Adrian's just like, the more I say I haven't
It-
seen something, Adrian's just like
I'm-
dying
It
on the
bores me to
inside.
tears.
I
How?
don't have the effect of it boring me to tears, but I will say it is definitely not a movie that while watching I'm like, this is
This is magnificent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing is, you
I
also
do not care about the story.
you also have to acknowledge the fact that a lot like the Big Lebowski and a lot of stuff like that, it was a very like cult movie that at the same time was widely popular.
Yes.
So people were like really into it, like, oh man, you haven't seen this movie? That's insane. And people were like, of course I've seen this movie. Literally everyone's fucking seen this movie. But just for some people it was like, no. You need to see this movie. Okay. You guys may remember that for quite a while there was a competitor to Disney called Warner Brothers, and they had a product called the Looney Tunes.
You're saying this like Warner Brothers doesn't exist anymore.
Are you sure? Mandela
What
effect.
the fuck? Hit me.
Warner Brothers isn't the name of the company.
I mean, I know it's referred to now as WB.
No.
But-
There is no such company as Warner Brothers. It's a mistake that people often associate with the Weinstein Bros. It's just called Warner.
Oh, I mean, okay.
No. It like literally Warner Bros. Like there are no brothers associated with them. It is just called the Warner Association.
But what's the B stand for?
There is no B. It's not called WB.
In the WB logo, there's a W and a B.
No, there's not. That is the point I'm trying to say.
In the WB logo.
I'm
All
just
three
fucking
of
with
us
you.
just grabbed our
I'm
phones.
just
what
fucking
the
with you.
fuck
We
are
were
you
literally
on
looking at the WB lot from Universal.
Yes, we were
2
there.
days ago.
Don't have to tell you it doesn't exist. No, but the real thing.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What
I'm
the
like,
fuck is that?
I played the
That's
Arkham
a
game.
B.
That's a single W.
Oh my god! No. Sorry, that's a sideways New Jersey with 2 boobs.
Oh,
talking-
that's correct. It's a reverse New
Yeah.
Jersey,
Um,
which sounds like a horrific sex
You're
act.
talking about the Looney Tunes.
I am talking about the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Looney Tunes is not spelled like cartoon. It's
It's
spelled.
TUNES.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one really threw me off because I basically never watched Looney Tunes.
Now, what I do distinctly remember is there was a Looney Tunes show where they did switch it for a little bit because it was the Looney Tunes cartoon.
It
So it was the Looney Tunes, and they did make a TOONS.
was it like a skit show, like the House of Mouse kind of thing?
Don't remember a single
Okay.
thing about it, but I do know there is a Looney Tunes show that's not TUNES.
These next two are basically the same idea. Febreze is only spelled with one E. Well, I guess it's spelled with. It's
Well,
not a
two,
double
but
E.
yeah, it's not double. Dude, I am still like, you gaslit the shit out of me with Warner Brothers. I'm still like a little fucked up.
Imagine that if I had figured out a better B word, like
Dude, if you were like, it just stands for business. It's literally just Warner business.
like as soon as you asked that, I literally was like,
Every
I
B
can't-
word, go.
yeah, brothers, damn.
It's actually just Warner Brother. It's just one guy. He had a sister, but he's the brother.
Yeah. Okay. Fruit Loops is spelled with 2 O's. It's RF.
It's fruit and loop. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not spelled.
It's funny. I only know these ones because I know Mandela effect is
Yeah.
the thing. I would have before that argued that it's like, no, it's spelled like the fucking word fruit, dumbass.
Okay. Quick fire rounds. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Who's the fairest of them all?
Yeah, it's actually Magic Mirror on the wall. It's not.
Really?
Yeah, she does.
I didn't know
The
that
mirror,
one.
mirror is not the which
I
is
knew that one. Yeah.
That's not as fun of a line.
yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of media has since hijacked it and said mirror, mirror.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
the-
it's just
there's
like
an
the
entire
phasers, the
movie
sun,
called
and
Mirror,
element.
Mirror.
Yeah.
but also think about it. She's saying magic mirror on the wall. Like it's not. She is introducing the concept of what she's about to do. She said
Yeah.
mirror, mirror. Like I mean, you fucking get it. This is a guy who's about to tell you something in a mirror. You're not gonna be like, this is like normal mirrors. I have one at home. Darth Vader. This one's really easy to know. Luke, I am your father is not the line.
No, because the revelation is during a conversation.
Yeah, the
essentially.
line is no, I am
I am
your father.
Yeah.
Um.
And he goes,
Yeah. But I mean, also, that's kind of a harder thing to say. Like when you're quoting, you're like, no, I am your father. And people are going to be like, feed me the line so I can do it.
yeah.
Okay. In the song, We Are the Champions by Queen, it does not end with him saying of the world as it fades out.
What is he saying?
Yeah.
There isn't.
No,
Just,
it's
we are
the champ. No time for losers, cause we are the champions, and then fade out.
champions.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever noticed that.
You know what's also funny is there is a recording of him doing this. He did that. He added it onto
Like a greatest hits album or
no,
something?
at the Wembley Stadium performance. He added that to the ending. So
Okay.
you might remember it from
So
that.
it's more like misassociation.
Well,
really.
also I think in the song, an earlier verse, he does say that.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
just the song does not
The
fade
of
out
the
with it.
world.
I don't think people realize how long the song is. That's why.
Oh my god, yeah, it's a
Honestly.
very long
It's
song.
only 4 or 5 minutes.
No, I mean,
That's a
I'm
long
not
ass
saying
song.
like in terms of that
Oh,
length.
you
I
mean
mean,
like
I
how-
don't think people realize that it keeps going after a certain respect.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Smokey the Bear is not his name.
What's his name?
It's just Smokey Bear. Like there's no the.
Yeah.
I,
See,
that
that
one,
I knew.
I would not have known that one. I
And-
thought you were gonna be like George.
Yeah. His name is Smokey the George. No, that one was really confusing to me, mainly because like as soon as I read that, I was like, okay, well, I know of very clear situations where people have said that, so clearly that's not something that I'm just running into right
I've just
now.
heard it because I've seen people like use it interchangeably, basically.
Yeah, well, it's a Smokey the Bear. It's like I wouldn't call you insane if you were adding on like we're talking about the bear Smokey, not the bandit, you know.
And now you're gonna tell me his name was Smokey Bandit, huh?
Yeah, Snooky Bandit. And people said, maybe we change that name? And they said, no. We're keeping it. All right. Tinkerbell flying around the Disney logo. Not real. Not a thing. There's a common interpretation of
I've seen her fly around like the Neuschwanstein castle that they use, but
that one is there is a common one of Tinkerbell flying around and then the Disney logo opens up.
and she makes the arch.
Yeah. She actually kind of like dots the eye and it like takes the drawn version of the Disney logo and kind of pushes it into like the actual logo's like format. That's not real. However, she does do that to the coming soon to DVD's logo. So it's not something.
So it's just another misassociation
Yeah,
thing.
it's also an issue where you'll see this a lot of people basically look in the wrong place and then they go like, oh, I can't find it. I could have sworn it was here. And it's like, yeah, well, it's never going to be there because like that's not where it is.
Do you remember the only on Disney Channel? And then they'd make like the ears in the corner. Have you ever seen clips of like the uncut footage and someone actually traces what they draw and it looks fucking absolutely nothing like the Mickey ears?
Yeah.
I love those videos.
Do they still do that?
Like
I
like
think they brought it
still-
back for a while.
Yeah, right.
I'm unsure.
like Bella Thorne is doing the
Well, it's not Bella Thorne anymore. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
She's
but I
not
mean,
Disney safe.
I don't think that they were doing it even when she was like
I would doubt it too. Didn't Zendaya start on like a dancing show? On
She
Yeah,
started
she-
on the same show.
yeah,
Shake
she's
It
as
Up.
Bella
opposite of
Thorne,
Bella
right? Yeah,
Thorne,
okay.
yeah.
I think that's why my mind went there.
I don't know why, but even at the time, I remember this being really cringe. Of there was their dancing show was called Shake It Up. I did not really watch Disney Channel, so I've not seen a single episode. I frankly could not tell you what the plot of the show was, but I was kind of watching some of the shows like on reruns and stuff like that, and I would occasionally see commercials. And there was one where it's introducing all the characters like as the commercial, and it cuts to the younger brother who's maybe like 9. And they have styled him with like this really like early 2000s spiked cool guy haircut. And he's like finger guns right at the camera. And I'm like, that is the most 9-year-old, oh, this is going to be rad, like thing that happened. And I remember even at the age of maybe 12 being like, that's pretty fucking cringe, bro. I'd worry about that for later on. Okay. Those are some fun rapid fire ones. We are I'm gonna talk about basically the idea of like what the fuck, why does this happen? And it's way simpler than you'd think. We've already kind of gone over it. You're not gonna give a shit about something that's minor. None of these are like, hey, you remember, some people don't know Hitler didn't exist. Some people don't know that like
Well, I think
we
you said
went-
that sentence wrong. Some people don't know that Hitler didn't exist.
he's not real. That's another Mandela effect.
don't make that one a
His
gaslight.
name
was
was
Adolf.
Bitler.
Wait, fucking God. And this is a bad Bitler.
Yeah, it is. It always is. Every bit we do is a bad bit. Okay, there's an idea called the presupposition, which I was actually going to I was going to demonstrate this earlier, but I kind of forgot to do this. Where I'm wearing this green shirt, and when we did the escape room, I was going to wear this shirt. And I was going to change shirts and ask you what color this shirt is. And the general idea is, if I ask a question that has a very leading answer, you're probably going to justify
I didn't know there was a term for this.
the leading answer. So for instance, Lindsay's wearing a very blue shirt, and if she left the room or something like that, and I said, do you remember how green Lindsay's shirt is? Can you tell me the shade of green it is? It might be very easy for people to be like, let me think. And they'll just go into their mind. They'll be like, well, Jeremy's not going to lie about that question.
Well, see, if Adrian asked me that, I'd be like, I don't know, Adrian. I think it was like a dark green. If you told me that, I'd be like, bitch, she's wearing a purple shirt and you know it.
You know, I was trying to think when you said presupposition, I was like, why do I know this word? I learned about this because my degree is in paralegal studies, and we learned a lot about the criminal justice system because we took a lot of CJ classes, and talking about like interrogations and how wildly inaccurate witness accounts are because a lot of the interrogations involve leading questions,
Right.
So the cops can justify what they're doing.
I mean, yeah, this came up a lot. One of the big ones is like therapists inducing false memories.
Remember that, by the way, when I talk about specific alien abductions. A big thing about alien abductions where people get super fucked up and end up having like actual diagnosed PTSD about it. A lot of the time it's because they went through hypnotherapy, which is afterward.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Because
which is all about being like
leading
questions.
So
you said that these that you saw the aliens, you described them as East German. So were they wearing leather jackets or were they just wearing shirts? And the thing is, they might have said like, oh, they were like as tall as an East German guy or something. But then the moment that comes in, it's like
classic description.
I know. I'm just making it up on the fly because Betty and Barney Hill abduction was they described them as East German. And one of the hypnotherapy questions was like, what were they wearing? And the thing is, Betty and Barney Hill many times said they weren't, which would describe a tall gray. But when they were asked during the hypnotherapy, what were they wearing? They would say like, oh, they were in leather jackets. And it's like, well, that's weird because you said they weren't wearing anything before. But the moment you introduce the idea of wearing something, then they're like, oh, what were they wearing?
Yeah. They're not going to go back and be like, well, hold on, maybe they weren't. You know, like that bridge has already sailed is what I was about to say.
It was something along the lines of like, that was even like less where they were like, you said they were wearing clothing, like saying you said this.
Yeah.
So what were they wearing? And so now they have to defend their own. And a big thing about Betty and Barney Hill is they were an interracial couple when that was not cool. So Barney, the black one, probably wouldn't want to lie to a bunch of white officers of the government. So when they said, you said this, then it's like, oh, I did say that. Yeah, they were wearing leather jackets. And so there's a lot about the Betty and Barney Hill case that's like, so the United States government fucking made it up, basically.
Presupposition, not only in that, my minor was in psychology. So that's a big thing in hypnosis. Huge thing in hypnosis, actually.
Well, because I remember, this is kind of anecdotal at this point, but I remember hearing that basically in the 70s and the 80s, like there was like a really high flux of people who basically got like molested when they were kids. And it was because therapists were doing hypnotherapy to be like, let's figure out like what happened. And like none of these people were, but suddenly they were like, they were pointing at their accuser.
You can use
which
hypnotherapy.
Is what led to Nick Martin preschool kicking off the Satanic Panic.
You can use hypnotherapy in an actually like conducive and useful way, but a lot of it was bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, especially when the guy giving you the hypnotherapy is like, I bet aliens are real, and I'm going to figure out what kind of alien this guy saw. That's so much of the alien abduction ones. And it's like, anytime you're reading alien abduction, you're like, oh, what happens next? They got inducted into hypnotherapy, and you're like, oh, okay, it's bullshit. Cool, thanks.
I came across a really cool study where basically they had all these people, they had them watch a video of a car crash. And it's kind of funny that I say car crash. I think in the video, like in real life, it was going 10 miles an hour. And literally the only thing that did different with everybody is they changed how dramatic the incident was in the wording of the question. So it was how fast was the car going? But it would say, how fast was the car going when it bumped into the other car? How fast was the car going when it crashed into the other car? How fast was it going when it slammed? If it had a more dramatic question, they gave a much higher speed. So even though they saw it going at 10 miles an hour, if it said slam, they'll be like, oh, 60 miles an hour. Like it fucking took the door off, you know? And when I first read that, I was like, that's something that's way more interesting as an idea than anything this Mandela effect has ever been.
Well, and I wonder if you get to this towards the end when you explain like what actually is the Mandela effect. But from my understanding, the Mandela effect is just like human memory is fragile and we don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it was very, very weird that you're like, explain what it is. I'm like, what have I been doing?
Yeah, I was like, didn't you say that?
All right. It's like the difference between explaining
Jeremy,
what the
this
Yeti
was a
is
great
and
intro.
what the Yeti is.
Like, you just hit me with like a weird sense of anxiety. You're like, all right, so we filled up 3 minutes. You good for the rest of the hour? And I'm like, how much time do we have? I only wrote a page.
Wait, so it has nothing to do with like
Parallel universe.
parallel universe.
Absolutely fucking not. It's
Got
that
it.
humans are dumbasses but don't want to admit it.
Got it.
I mean, like, you can realistically.
That was on the table for you?
I mean, possibly. Who knows? Maybe in 2002, that episode of SpongeBob aired, and like, you just fucking.
Oh my fucking
I will say,
God.
I do think parallel universes are a thing.
Sure.
I will say that.
Why
I
not?
agree with Lindsay.
Right.
Newton's
Yeah.
flaming laser sword and whatnot.
But as someone who has studied both law and psychology, memory is fucking horseshit, dude.
That's
It
true.
is the most easily fucking manipulated thing on the goddamn planet.
I can't even remember what I had for
There's
breakfast. Yeah.
there's one of those shows where it's like a magician like fucking with people, right? But I forget which one it was, but essentially he stages a purse snapping at like an outdoor restaurant. Runs off, goes around the corner, very quickly changes clothes to a police officer, drives up in the police car and asks witnesses like, what did he look like? And it ended up being less of a magic trick and more of just like, witnesses don't know what the fuck they saw because they're literally looking at the guy they just saw take it, except now he has a hat on, kind of thing.
I remember reading like it was like a true crime case of the police showed up to a jewelry store robbery and the dispatch had claimed that it was like a short white guy, and they got to the jewelry store, saw the guy, chased him down an alley. Guy made a left turn, so there was a blind spot during that. While he ran by a bus stop, this like 6'2" black guy
Oh, I saw this.
stepped off, and they literally arrested him.
Oh my fucking God.
And like the entire time, like they have his tape, and the dude's like, dude, I didn't do anything.
You,
And
you
they're-
could watch this on YouTube, like the interrogation footage where they're like,
Jesus.
yo, we have you on camera doing this. And he's like, great. If you have it on camera.
Then show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like what it kind of boiled down to was, one, the officer was trying to get someone to confess without any evidence on them, because like that's super useful if you're in the police. If you can't actually nab someone, but they can just be like, yeah, whatever, I did that. I mean, it also is an issue of like, there's a lot of people who just confess to things that they didn't do.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, there is kind of a happy ending, because I think he won $27 million from the state.
Oh hell yeah.
And all officers involved got demoted. But
What? There was a punishment of any variety for a cop?
the weirdest thing was that like one of the head detectives like went to review the case, and he picked it up, and he was like, dude, it says he was a short white guy. We have a tall black guy in the cell.
Like, how could you possibly?
And literally was like, dude, you can fucking go. Like, I don't know why the fuck you're here. And I mean, to be fair, I think he was in jail for like 3 days. So he was,
Jesus.
I would, as someone who almost got arrested one time,
I love that.
that
story.
is literally me being like, how do I do my phone call? Do I call my parents? Because I don't have a lawyer. I'd be like, work with me. When I call my lawyer, am I allowed to have him call someone else? Or do I just call my parents and have them deal with it? Because that seems a lot easier. No? But basically, that's actually, you know what the fuck am I talking about? I have not talked about the insane bullshit that I had to read on the Mandela Effect subreddit. You can go on it, and to the subreddit's credit, there are a lot of people there that are there just for fun. And there are a lot of people there that are
I
like,
followed it
this
during
is
this
real.
episode.
Yeah. One dude was like, yo, I saw the entire movie of Flushed Away 2 years before it got released. And it's like, bud, if you're the only one saying that, one, you're on the wrong sub. Like that, you're a fucking precog. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if no one else can read this, that's not even Mandela Effect. But you were the only person that got swapped out for this. And also, if it's one person, it's like, are we seriously not acknowledging the fact that this kid was wrong? Like, because I remember seeing Flushed Away in theaters. And also, while I was reading through the comments, someone was like, dude, in that movie, there is a song written for the movie that specifically came out in 2006 when the movie came out. So even if you saw the movie in 2004, like, it was not all there. So like, that by itself is an explanation of, I am going to guess that maybe he saw like a sizzle reel or something for the movie, forgot about it, and then watched the movie and only saw the
like, I've
funny
seen
and
this.
important parts and was just
Yeah.
like, this movie. But it's another thing of, I just imagine him sitting there like with his parents and being like, oh man, you should watch this scene. And the scene happens, he goes, see?
I can't give you a specific example, but I do know I've done stuff where I've like played a video game and I've been like, have I played this before? And it goes through my head of like, I recognize a lot of like this dialogue and the set piece and everything. And what I realized way later is like, oh yeah, when you were falling asleep watching YouTube videos, autoplay was on. And what you saw was a YouTuber playing this game.
Dude,
like
that happens
3
to me
days
so
before it
much
came
now
out.
because I watch Twitch and fall asleep with Twitch on.
And then you wake up to the hosting of a host having a hosting of a hosting. And you're just like, I don't
and
know
then
who
I
this
get a
guy
random
is.
sub to someone I've never watched before, and it was probably someone that
has
was
never
on my
happened to me.
Twitch.
That's
Oh,
funny.
you know, like because when you give subs, you can do random people
Yes.
who have touched that channel.
Yes.
And I get subs from people I've literally never heard of that I probably like fell asleep watching this person I do follow, and then someone got hosted, and that was the person that I was sleeping through, and then the next morning it's someone completely different. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
At this point, I basically played all of Elden Ring.
Oh, and I hear it's great. You keep coming back and saying it's great. There's this is something that really bugged. Actually, you have both seen Community, and this isn't really a spoiler, so it doesn't really matter. Also, it doesn't matter because it's a TV show. There is a line in Community. It's in the very first episode. It's when Jeff goes to talk to John Oliver's character. John Oliver is like, "Hey, you got me out of trouble when I was when I had a DUI case," and I could have sworn that there was a line that, because I remember at the time thinking, that's hilarious. And I watched the show recently. That line is not present in the show.
So the one where he's like, I just convinced the jury that you're the only thing about driving drunk to get like a chimichanga or something is that you love chimichangas only because you love America so much.
See, here's the thing. It is connected to that, but I distinctly remember John Oliver's character saying, I don't know how you convinced that me making a U-turn on the freeway to order chimichangas was related to 9/11. And more importantly, I don't know why it helped. And I remember at the time being like,
does he not say that?
I don't think so.
Because you said that, and I'm ready for you to be lying to me. I am
If
almost
you
certain
can-
he says something about that.
My only example of why that might not happen is I watched the show on Hulu when I first watched it, and I've recently been watching it on Netflix. It's shipped over. There might be a disparity in the
They edited a lot when it came over to Netflix.
Yes,
Okay.
that is a thing.
that is, and that's a really good example of it's kind of hard to find something that you have taken away. Like that line I distinctly remember, but I remember watching that episode and being like, oh, did I just miss that line? And playing it through again and be like, no, I just, that line's just not there. But also, like, do you recognize that?
It does sound familiar.
That's the another thing. It sounds familiar,
Yeah.
but like that might have been like, well, hold on. I do know of a similar line. Is that not it?
Because the only thing about it that I think might be wrong is relating it to 9/11. Because I do distinctly remember him saying like, and I don't know why it mattered. Like that part I definitely remember.
I also like it's that very John Oliver Last Week Tonight voice of like where he goes, and more importantly, why it helped.
Yes.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like the
Also, I just want to say I pulled up the Mandela Effect subreddit, sorting by top of all time. One of the highest posts is, I can swear there was a robber emoji. It had like a gray beanie, a beard, and wore a black and white striped shirt. Top comment is, I can't take this anymore. I know for a fact there was a robber emoji. You sure they just didn't remove it from the new OS? I love the dramatic flair of, I cannot take this anymore.
No!
I also like that guy's name. Remember, top comment on this is, do not upvote my stuff. And they
Was it?
upvoted his stuff.
bastards. I also very distinctly remember an episode of Drake and Josh where Drake is playing the guitar and he's doing the blues riff. And it's like, "Da-na-na-na. Oh, grumpy Josh, da-na-na-na, doing his homework." I distinctly remember the next line being, the kind of work da-na-na-na, that you do at home. Da-da-na-na. In the episode, when I saw it again, the line is him going, "Oh, grumpy Josh," da-na-na-na-na. And I was like, hold on, where's the work I do at home?
Your line would have been funnier if they added that before him going off.
Yeah. It's once again, it might have been a re-edit of the episode. I might have seen it when it,
because I feel like that kind happens all the fucking time.
Yeah. It's also like, even at the time, I think there was not that long of a gap. Like I might have been 6 and I watched it again when I was like 7. I'm sure those dates or those years are way off, but
No, you watched it when you were 8 and then when you were 9, you idiot.
but it's like,
I feel like anything from media is like incredibly inaccurate because
It can be, yeah.
Why they could edit it whenever they want.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of people who like haven't seen Star Wars in a while and are like, has he always said McClunky?
Have I ever told you guys I've met Josh Peck?
You met Josh Peck?
I've also
Was
met
he-
Josh Peck.
Was he doing a Vine? You met Drake Bell?
I did meet Drake Bell. I've met both of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
When I worked at Carvel in Florida, I guess he has family down there. He just came waltzing on into the shop and ordered some ice cream with his family, and I'm like so it was me and my boss at the time, and the rest of the people that worked at the shop were all high schoolers, and I was not in high school, so they were all in class, and I'm just scooping my ice cream, and I'm like looking over to my boss like, do you know who that is? He's like, no. Don't say that in front of any other girls because they're gonna punch you, first of all. But yeah, no.
he has that level of clout.
He's kind of hot now.
I mean,
he got pretty hot.
Yeah, but
have
I
you
mean,
seen him recently?
I know what he looks
He
like.
had a
I'm,
glow up.
I'm not. Okay. that's
And
fine.
and then he called you a McClunky and walked out, right?
Well, so my boss didn't know who he was. I explained to my boss who he is, and as soon as I tell him this is a celebrity, he starts schmoozing because he also understands like he's met Adam Sandler in that shop before, and like he's met celebrities because I lived in a neighborhood that was double gated. So there was a gated community for normal humans, and then inside that gated community was another gated community for like multimillionaires and celebrities. Welcome to Florida.
Was it like a big place?
Oh, it was huge.
Oh, okay.
It was
Because I'm imagining it's like, well, I can be on this
I'm
road,
just
but if I
imagining
want to get to the road over.
I'm just imagining the Attack on Titan
Yeah, that's
City.
exactly what
It's
I was
kind of like what it
thinking.
was. That's a lot like what it was, dude.
They
So
broke
like
it through the rose
my
wall.
boss
It's just
started-
Josh Peck, 300 feet tall, completely naked.
So my boss started like schmoozing a little and then giving him in space because he's like, don't fuck with celebrities when they're just trying to live their lives.
Yeah.
And he's gone, and maybe 15 minutes after he leaves, and like I said hello and like just treated him like a normal person, the flock of teenagers getting off of school and like coming to finish and take my shift for the rest of the night were like, hey guys, me and Rob just met Josh Peck. They fucking screamed. They went nuts. And me and Rob are both sitting there like, and this is why none of you interacted with him and would never work the shift that Lindsay's working.
For the record, Jeremy, I caught that face you made. I am with you. Where it's like, if someone said, I met Josh Peck, I'd be like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. Not, oh my god, you met Josh
I mean, all right, he's
what
had a
year is this?
This was, I want to say
2020.
no, it was like 2015.
he's had a bit of a resurgence. He's
Like, are they
a regular.
recognizing him from Vine, or are they?
No, probably from YouTube because he's been a regular on
Well,
David
no,
Dobrik's
they
stuff.
still like they knew what Drake and Josh was.
It's one of those things where
He's not like Brad Pitt.
you are describing this like they're like hottie boom body is here, and I'm like,
Well, he
even
is a
with
good-looking dude.
even with the glow up.
He is,
So-
but he's
so you
not
haven't
Chris Hemsworth,
seen-
You know?
I mean,
like
if Chris Hemsworth walked in, I'd scream.
Yeah, no, that's true. You and I had a whole conversation about if Jason Momoa walked in this room, I would be straight in a heartbeat.
Oh,
to
dude.
be fair, so if Jason Momoa walked in this room, I'd scream because I'd be like, "Why the fuck is Jason Momoa here?" like, is this something that we have been
But
we
he-
scheduled?
after
this?
Drake and
Jason,
Josh-
are you lost? Do you
After
wanna do
Drake
that
and
an
Josh,
episode?
he was in a couple movies too for a couple years.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I understand that he is famous and stuff
But
like that,
he's not that famous.
it is.
I don't
just-
know. Teenage girls are weird. Okay,
it-
that's what I'm.
prove it.
If you had said Drake Bell, I would have been
kinda
like,
get it.
I would have been like, oh yeah, okay, like he is like a
Well,
teen
Drake Bell,
heartthrob.
like, before a couple years ago. But
But I mean, it's just the fact that like Josh Peck like never was presented to me as
as
like
the hottie bobati.
yeah, as the hottie body. So I admit I feel like he just
scientific term.
didn't.
he
have-
was a hottie bo body at the time that I met him.
I would argue that he currently still is.
He's
Honestly,
probably still a
I'm
hottie
not even
bobati.
arguing that
No,
he
I
isn't.
mean,
look
I
at
totally
him.
get where you're coming
My
from.
point
there,
is
Jeremy.
that he was like the fat kid his entire life.
Yeah,
and
he's
it's
known for being the brother of the hottie bobati.
yeah.
And I totally get where you're coming from on that. He's not the kind of guy where if he walked in, I'd be like, "Take me away, sir."
See, there
Well,
he is with John Stamos, and
if-
he looks
if
kinda
Chris
close.
Dude,
Evans
he's-
walked in as
he is
well.
sexy as fuck. I will give him that.
Can I get a little bit of that?
After
Oh,
he came into that shop, by the way, and that was like no holds barred. From now on, we're expecting Beyonce to walk in through that door, and then I will shriek.
If Henry Cavill came
Oh,
to
that's
an
another
ice cream
man I
shop,
would be straight for.
Come on.
Have you seen that man in his leather pants in the Witcher series?
Do you think I
Have
haven't
you seen
that
him in a
man
bathtub?
Think I don't have pictures all over my room? Meg's like, can you stop putting these up? And I'm like, make me.